What's up gamers? In today's video, we're going to be going over some rapid fire tips to help you on just about every situation. So make sure you stay tuned as we have a ton here. Before we get into the video though, if you want tons of tips and in-depth guides on just about everything we're going to cover in this video, make sure you go over to GameLeap.com and sign up today. We have tons of guides with new ones coming out every single day, and we have something for you. So make sure you check it out and let's get into the video. Alright, our first tip is always play around corners and cover. Playing around corners in small bits of cover all around the map will hugely increase your survivability. On your attack, simply push up towards the enemies and pick a corner to stick on, and as the enemies fall back, push up to another piece of cover and continue your attack. If they push you, fall back to the previous piece of cover. On defense, the same exact thing applies. Pick a corner, piece of cover, and then continuously move between them. The next tip is high grounds are just as good, if not better, than corners, and you should almost always be playing on high grounds whenever possible, unless you're playing in a mobile tank. The only heroes that shouldn't be on high grounds are some immobile tanks like Reinhardt and Orisa that have no vertical mobility. Some supports as well that are shorter range like Moira shouldn't be on high grounds unless she's pushing with her team. Anytime you drop off a high ground, make sure you hop right back up whenever possible, whether it's mid-fight or after a fight. Next tip, don't just shoot at any enemy. Target prioritization is very important in Overwatch. You don't just want to be shooting at anything in the crowd. Try and pick your targets and damage one or two specific heroes instead of just shooting randomly. You can also pick heroes that your teammates are targeting to help finish them off faster, and that will help as well. Don't tunnel vision on enemies. No matter who you play, it can be easy to see one enemy and fight them, and once they get low, chase them to the ends of the earth to secure your kill. You need to know when your enemy escapes or when they get support, and you're not going to be able to finish that kill off anymore. You need to make sure that you're keeping your good positioning and not throwing your life away just to secure one elimination. Next up, learn your counters. Learning when to swap and which heroes you do badly against is really important. If you're constantly getting dunked on as Widowmaker, it's probably time to swap to a hero that can hold their own more. Same goes with tank and support. If you're constantly being run over, swap to somebody that you're either more comfortable with or somebody that works better for that situation. Next tip is warming up. Everybody needs to warm up and aim in Overwatch. No matter who you're playing, you have to do some sort of aiming in Overwatch, unless you're like a Reinhardt and a Winston main, and then I guess you don't have to, but you really should be warming up, whether it's with one of our guides or just a game of quick play. You should try and warm up your aim and your brain so that you can go into games prepared to win. Next up is communication with your teammates. Talking to your teammates, whether it's just saying good job when you win a fight or calling out ultimates and plays and other enemies, communication will help you win. You don't even have to use your voice. All you have to do is, with the new ping system, you can simply ping enemies that you want your team to focus. Or after fights, you can simply type and you can tell your teammates, maybe I need a little bit more help in the next fight, or Genji is constantly flanking me, please help me. It helps to use your voice, but if you're not comfortable with that, then you don't really need to. One last thing for communication is try and stay positive. You don't want to be flaming your teammates, and you don't want to seem condescending or sarcastic and being rude to your teammates, as they can very easily throw things in the wrong direction. Next tip, don't waste your ultimate. Knowing exactly when and when not to use your ultimate can be a hard task. A simple checklist that you can run through to know whether you can use it is, how many of my teammates are dead? If it's more than 2, don't use your ultimate. Secondly, will my ultimate win us this fight or put us in a position to win the fight? If yes, use it. If not, then don't. Lastly, will my ultimate get me killed or put me in a position that will get me killed when I use it? If your ult puts you in a 50-50 position to either win or lose or die, then it's best to put yourself in a more advantageous position to use your ultimate instead of chancing it. And another caveat for this is, if your teammates aren't in the fight, say you're like Pharah and you get back to the fight first and you have your ult, make sure that your teammates are nearby before you're using your ultimate. Using it alone in the enemy's backline will end up getting you killed. Maybe you'll get a kill or two, but if you die and your teammates aren't near the fight, then it's not really worth using your ult. Next up, learn your rotations. Rotating on your attack side is much easier than defense. A simple way to learn how and when to rotate is to constantly watch your tank. When they go forward, you go forward. When they go back, you also go back. Imagine there's a pole with a rope around each of your waists, and you are attached together by this pole in between you. You would like to put your tank in between you and your enemies, and anytime they go forward, you are pulled along with them by the rope and the pole, and when they go back, you are pushed backwards by the rope and the pole. Just a kind of little good thing to imagine so that you don't find yourself in front of your tank and in between you and the enemies. Now, the only caveat I have for this is that if you are a flanker, then this doesn't really apply to you. So if you're playing Genji, you don't really want to be putting your tank in between you and the enemies because you want to be a little bit closer to the enemies and it might be difficult to do something like that. The next tip is specific for aiming. You want to focus your eyes on the targets. Whenever you are aiming at enemies, this is a really simple aiming tip, but it can do wonders for your aim. Whenever you're aiming at a target, don't just look at your crosshair or the screen as a whole. Focus your eyes on that target, whether it's on their head or just their body. Make sure you're tracking them with your eyes. This will help you aim and track them and aim at them much better. This can also help you pick out targets in a crowd and more easily aim at them with your crosshair. The next tip is flanking smart. Whenever you're flanking, you can't just go in before your teammates engage the enemies. If you're flanking and you fight an enemy support before the fight starts, the chances are that the enemies will quickly be able to turn around, help them out, and kill you, then fight your team. If you wait for the enemies to be busy fighting each other, then you flank, you'll have a much easier time fighting distracted supports or DPS. Next tip, learn to hide from snipers. As a support and or a short range DPS, even tanks, this can be very important. You want to keep in mind where the enemy sniper is at all times, use cover to block the enemy sniper from seeing you, but also allowing you to see your teammates or whoever you're fighting or healing. This can completely deny enemy Widowmakers or Sojourns or pretty much any other sniper from picking you off and actually make them swap off or just do nothing all game, which will make you win. Next up, knowing where your supports are at all times. This is a really important one for DPS and tank players especially. If you're going up and fighting the enemies around a piece of cover, if your support is behind you and you go around a corner to fight the enemies or chase a low health kill, you have to realize that your support will not be able to see you and heal you. That is, unless they push into that room with you, which will in turn put them in a lot of danger. So either you're getting them killed by forcing them to follow you, or you're getting yourself killed when they don't follow you. All you gotta do is simply check behind you. Every 5 to 10 seconds or before you go in or do anything crazy, do a quick 360. Check to see where your supports are and whether they can support you going forward. Another thing is, before the fight starts, if your support's playing behind you or up on a ledge, make sure you think about where they can actually see you from that ledge and make sure you don't go too far forward or that you're constantly peeking them whenever you need help. Next tip, lower your sensitivity. A lot of players use default sensitivity or something even higher. A high sensitivity might feel comfortable for looking around, but precision aiming can be extremely difficult with higher sensitivities. So if you play heroes that need to hit precise shots, maybe an Ana, maybe a sniper or a DPS, make sure that you're lowering your sensitivity a bit so that you can more easily hit those accurate shots. For a guideline, I would stick somewhere between 4 and 8% sensitivity. My last tip here is do not follow your teammates to their death. It might seem fun to play spawn door tag with your teammates and die in the enemy's backline, but if you focus on staying alive over following your teammates to their inevitable deaths, then you can retreat a little bit, slow the enemies down whenever they're going towards the objective and regrouping, and gain precious time for you and your teammates to regroup and rejoin the fight. But if you die with your teammates, the enemies will regroup before you, and your next fight will be that much harder. That is all for this video, everyone. Make sure that you comment down below what your favorite tip was, and if I missed anything, make sure you tell me. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Make sure that you check out our Overwatch 2 website. It is constantly being updated with new guides on every single hero, so make sure that you check out the website link right now in the description or go to GameLeap.com and sign up today.